How's everybody out there? Hope all is well. And we back for another one here. I'm coming back at you. How we looking here? Let me check them out. Let's see. Got fresh cut. What y'all think? Fresh cut Friday. But yeah, back for another one here. So let's about to get on these topics. Like we always do. Stay fresh for the camera, y'all. So basically, topic for today is or I should say topic, this book that I was reading is called The Five Resets. So that's what I wanted to discuss in this video. So basically, what I want to discuss today and talk about in this video is talking about the five resets. So it's the five resets. Basically, uh, in the last video, we were talking about trying to keep your peace. So now this one's more talking about reset, ways to deal with stress, try to minimize your stress, and basically just deal with all types of any types of stress that you're dealing with. So the five resets basically is get clear on what matters most to you. Find basically find quiet in a noisy world. Sync your brain and your body. Come up for air, basically come up for oxygen or exhale. And the last one is basically bring your best self forward. So after you hit that first one, get clear on what matters most to you. So you got to find out what it is that you need to get set, or what you want to get clear, who you are, what you're about. And that's a big deal. It's going, or a big step forward toward trying to reset and find out, reset back to who you want to be, or what you need, or who you need to be. So in this book, it's basically so some of the things that they were talking about. The author is Diddy, MD, rewiring the brain and the body. So what your brain thinks about stress. You gotta think. Um, so under usual circumstances, when you're not particularly stressed, your brain is led by a prefrontal cortex. Talking about your brain here. So if you put your palm on your forehead, it's the area of the brain right behind your palm. All right, let me adjust my camera here, get a little more close up, and so y'all can hear me a little bit better. But so basically, if you put your palm on your forehead, it's the area of the brain right behind your palm. So with your prefrontal cortex, helps you manage your day-to-day life decisions. It can plan your kid's birthday party, organize your desktop, your files, basically think through how to hang curtains, something as simple as, hanging curtains, fixing windows, hanging pictures, stuff like that. Or in which order to give presentations to a fall conference. So something as simple as doing something around the house, or something as major as doing a presentation at work. So that's what we're talking about with the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex can look at your options and choose renting a van instead of a sedan, whether you should wear business casual or jeans to an event. So this is all decision making. And so stress, dealing with stress and reset and all of this stuff, a lot of this, comes down to um, maybe making decisions a little bit different, trying to figure out how you can make decisions different, and so you can get a different outcome. So well, I'm saying all of this stuff just to kind of give you an idea of how the brain works. And so, that's what we're trying to get after, trying to reduce stress, not necessarily eliminate everything, but to reduce stress and just try to minimize the stressful things you have to do on a daily day basis and when you're making decisions and so forth. So um, so basically, whether you should wear business casual jeans, I said that, okay, or either help you make a decision about what jar of pasta or sauce or what you want to cook for dinner. So um, a lot of in real life, a lot of what the prefrontal cortex does, it can be considered adulting. So uh, when you're feeling calm without much stress, you're pretty good in adulting. But under the influence of stress, things can go away. Go not away, but they can go awry. Meaning they can go bad. They can go south real quick. If that makes sense. So unless stress, your brain is led by the. Now this is the I'm not saying this right. Amygdala. Amygdala. It's a bean-sized structure located deep in the brain. Throwing out all of these technical terms. That's how they're breaking it down. How the brain, all of the different setup in your brain. So just trying to break all this down. There's a lot of I should say, more scientific or what? How should I say it? Um, so more like I should say more technical term. That's basically like technical, the technical term. In that part of the brain is the cave dweller mode and has been with us since the beginning of time for a very good reason. It's focused on survival and self-preservation, and it's in charge of your fear response. So when it senses threat, that part of the brain activates your stress response called fight or flight. So now we're getting somewhere. Now we're trying to talk about what part of the brain where when we're dealing with stress, it's like, okay, what you gonna determine? What you gonna do? It says like, what are you gonna fight, flight, run? And that's usually something where you gotta make quick decisions. Or sometimes it could be something you're dealing with at work. It might not necessarily be a quick decision. But um, but it basically recruits other parts of the brain and needs some high technical words. I'm not gonna try to read all of these words. Uh, but and it has to make the hormone cortisol, which activates your adrenaline glands to make the adrenaline, which helps you either fight through a fear or run from it or flee. So these three entities, I just named like basically these three entities, um, the hypo, the gland, and the adrenaline gland. It's the pituitary, I'm saying it wrong, whatever. Pituitary glands, and then the adrenaline glands. Excuse me. So from what we call the HPA axis, which is the main highway for stress in your body. All right, so we get through all these technical terms. So, so let me give you. I just gonna basically just give you an example. So, if during like a moment of a heightened panic with a deadline that you have to meet with your boss gave you this project, you got a deadline to meet, whether it's a week, or two, a month. You got to set all of your, set everything in place. You got to get your people set that's going to help you with this task or this project. And so basically, you you start, you know, you get this panic, and deadline is starting to come to doom and gloom, and said to yourself, my boss is gonna, basically, my boss is gonna get me if I don't. My boss is gonna come out and get after me. Basically, my boss is gonna get after me if I don't finish this on time. And that's the Amy Godala talking. So the modern brain doesn't get a chance to reset back to normal baseline levels because of the high levels of chronic stress in your life, like constant deadlines and functional pressures. Stress is what keeps your, what is it, the Amy Godala I said, acting day in, day in, out, and out. So this person kind of gave an example. They had a corporation that invited them to speak to 450 employees about stress, and sent them as a young junior associate to pick them up at the airport. As they got to talking while sitting in the traffic, this person, David, that they were talking to about their pandemic experience, working at home for 15 months, and how this life had been going so, had, this life had been going since his employer had requested everyone to return to the office. So the person, she said, I was stuck in my studio apartment trying to work on a teeny table in a corner, and it was okay at first because they said it would be only 2 weeks and maybe three. So now this person's talking about, they were talking to an associate, someone that actually had picked them up from the airport. So they were explaining all of this to the person who actually wrote this book. And so they said it was okay at first, but you know, um, they were told 2 weeks, maybe three, but no big deal, okay. But then the pandemic ramped up in a full fledged, and they told us that they didn't know when or if the offices would happen. And then they felt totally trapped and isolated. And this was around the pandemic time, 20, was it 2020? Yeah. Lots of people are right with you, you know, David said. We all thought it would be a teeny blip in our lives, the pandemic, people working from home, nobody's going into the office. They said basically they thought it was going to be just a phase, a short sprint of laying low and, quarantining. Then the reality set in that we were all likely, now what? So basically, perhaps everybody can relate to this back then, the thoughts of when COVID was ramping up and people were, working from home and some couldn't get out the house. So we thought it was a short-term convenience. Our brains were primed and ready to handle a limited burst of stress. So they basically, everybody, buckled down. Everybody did what they needed to do during that pandemic. And some people couldn't go into the office. Some people, um, basically, there was some. I don't know. I heard there were some people that lost their jobs, but I think it was more people were working from home, or some people that worked from home maybe weren't getting paid. But it just depended on what type of job you had. Um, but so that he's talking about how it was weird, He actually felt worse now than when he didn't know if he was ever, you know, if he would ever get sick. Basically from this COVID, or what would happen to him or his job. And with this COVID, he was stuck and felt isolated, thinking, okay, when am I going to be able to fly home and see his family? Because he did have family back home. So let's see. I'm trying to get down to the bottom of this here. So, um, so this guy basically was going through a lot of stress, being away from the family. He had talked about, I know some of the NBA players were going through this. I heard like LeBron brought in like a cook, but were they Disney? I think they had them like on a Disney resort or something. So they were all isolated away from their families. They couldn't be around their families. Otherwise, they run the possibility of being getting hit with COVID from their family, and they couldn't afford to have one player get COVID, and then next thing you know, another player got it. So they isolated them basically. So this guy's kind of talking about some of the same things that some of the NBA players were going through, and he talked about how stressful it was. But this person in this book says basically, um, what did they say? It was basically, if the way this guy feels is close to what you're going through right now or have gone through, meaning feeling isolated, feeling trapped, kind of like how that feeling this guy felt, or like I described with NBA players felt with COVID. You could be feeling that way about your situation right now. You could be feeling trapped. The job that you're in, you're figuring, hey, I gotta pay bills, I got kids to feed, mouth to feed, and all of that stuff, and so you feeling trapped because you want out, but you got to keep this job, and it's stressing you out. Um, so if you're feeling this way, here's the reasons. You're experiencing a delayed stress response. During acute crisis, your brain rises up to meet the challenge of, doing this job, doing what you need to do. And then, as humans, we're hand wired for survival and self-preservation. So we always find a way to address our immediate needs, which that's what I'm talking about. So your immediate needs is you still got to put food on the table. You got to, you know, um, you cook, clean, whatever for family members, or if you're by yourself. But you still got to satisfy all of those immediate needs. So um, you rarely find someone in the midst of calm when it's emotionally falling apart and entirely, I don't know what they call a community. They're using a lot of big words in here. But your brain is built like a dam that recognizes acute crisis and holds it all together so that you can do what's needed in a moment. So now we kind of building up to what we're talking about with stress. So you're doing all this, but you don't necessarily know. People always say, "Oh, I'm stressed out." You hear people say that, but that's more of a term. That's more of a term in most cases. But as far as mentally or your health, you may not actually be feeling the symptoms, or your body might be feeling stressed out. So basically, um, because like I said, you're doing what you need to do, but your brain is, what did I say? Your brain is built like a dam that recognizes the acute crisis and holds it all together to do what is needed in the moment. And then once the acute threat has passed and you feel physically, psychologically, you feel psychologically safe, then the dam breaks. You let your guard down and your true emotions come to the surface. And then that's how that's when your body starts telling you stressed, or maybe you're dealing with headaches, or now you're starting to feel tired all the time, or it could be many different symptoms. So after you didn't dealt with the you know, dealt with doing what you needed to do, and then when you finally get a chance to, you know, sit back and after all of the feelings, the psychological feelings that passed away, they said that your true emotions come to the surface. So maybe you were perfectly fine physically, health wise, you know, during this time where you would be at this job or you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with at this job. You just, you know, making it through, doing what you need to do because that's what your brain is wired to take care of that stuff and do what you need to do. But let's see here. I'm trying to break this down here. Fluff in here. So some of the things that we need to do as we talk about is even though you may not necessarily be able to speak with someone one on one, um, you know, it just takes a few minutes to just kind of maybe sit down and write down all of the different things that you have to do, all your bills, all the different things that you need to handle, and get those things together. And um, so you want to focus like okay, so for an example, you want to make sure your sleep is right. Okay, so I'm just starting to give you some details now. So you want to make sure your sleep is right. You know, you get enough sleep. Now, growing up as kids, I remember it used to be 8 hours of sleep, but that's really I don't have to think of a past. Well, for some kids, if they go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock, and they having to get up at I don't know, shoot, whatever time in the morning, what if they go to bed at 8, really if they have to get up at 6, you do the math. So they're getting quite a bit of sleep, but it's always been, if I remember, like 8 hours. That was the talk. But nowadays, people function more on, I mean, realistically, people can function on 4 to 6 hours. 4 hours is pushing it. Maybe more like 5 to 6 hours. So, but so some of the things that you want to take a snapshot of your lifestyle and try to minimize and put a be proactive on trying to nip the being proactive before the stress get out of control, or just being proactive to try to help minimize some things. So you're looking at your sleep. What time do you go and get into your bed? So you're documenting this stuff. What time do you fall asleep? What activities do you do 2 hours before bedtime? Do you have difficulty falling asleep? Do you have difficulty staying asleep? So now all of this is you figuring all of this. So now you can calculate how many hours of sleep you really getting because you thinking, oh, I go to bed at 10 o'clock and say you go to bed at 10. What's that? You get up at 6. What is that? That's 6 plus 2, right? So 6 plus 2, that's about 8 hours. But just say if you go to bed at 11 and you get up at 6. What is that? 6 plus 1, that's 7 hours. So, but if you woke up in the middle of the night, you had to use the restroom, or you know, you had to address the kiddos or something like that, and then you get up, and now it takes you about an hour or so to fall back asleep. So now you're thinking, oh, I usually get about 7, 6, 7 hours sleep. So now start calculate, if you actually writing this stuff down, now you can actually see how many hours are you really sleeping. So that's what you documenting. So awakening, what time do you wake up? What time do you physically get out of the bed? And do you wake up feeling restored? So that's the question. So if you waking up like, oh, I got my rest, I feel restored, that's how I feel normally, your normal feel is restored, then maybe that's the ideal number that you need to hit. Those days that you work up, you kind of, out of it, not feeling well, or just your body's just not feeling right, just that can be the day you document. Okay, did I get up in the middle of the night? Did I do this? What time did I go to bed? So all of these things you document, and you keeping track of all of this stuff. So your sleep quality is a big deal, you know. So you figuring out, ultimately you want to try to figure out how many nights per week is approximately how many nights per week you getting this consistent number that you want to meet. So you keeping track of that stuff. Now we talk about like media use. So how many hours per day total do you spend in front of a screen? So we're talking about media, like we're talking about computer, phone. Really, it might be kind of hard to calculate the phone because we're looking at our phone I don't know, every so often throughout the day. Now, obviously, if you're at work, you might not necessarily be focused on it, but that's when we're talking about the computer. So, or if if you don't even, if you're not something where you're a computer job, you could have some sort of monitoring job, or who knows what type of job you have. So computer monitor. That's what we're talking about. How many hours per day totally do you spend in front of the screen, phone, computer, television, other electronic devices? Okay. How often do you check your phone, email, social media messages, and so forth? Do you check your phone for email, social media, all of that stuff? Uh, do you wake up at night to check your phone for email, social media? So again, we document everything. So first we start off with sleep. You documenting your sleep. Now you're documenting your media use or your technology use, or how much technology or screenplay and stuff that you're using. So next, third thing is your sense of community, like your home environment. Do you live um, alone or with others? If you live with others, how would you characterize your relationship with them? So in our last in the last video, we had talked about protecting your peace and family members and all of that stuff. So, um, if you live with others, could they be possibly contributing to your stress? Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily got to get away from them, but if if you can have discussions and try to figure out different ways to try to see if they can help you to minimize your stress. Maybe they're stressing you out about, hey, I'm just throwing this out here. How you didn't take the garbage out, you didn't wash the dishes, or you didn't cook, or you didn't fold the clothes, or you didn't wash, or I don't know. It could be anything, or you forgot to turn the TV off, or did you park the car in the garage, or just stuff like that. You got somebody that's on pins and needles, got you on pins and needles, stressing you out. So that's a conversation to have and discuss those things. Um, so basically, social network. Do you feel like you have family members or friends who you can depend on? Do you feel a sense of community? If you had an emergency or at 4 o'clock in the morning, if you had an emergency or 4 o'clock in the morning, are there at least two people you can call for help? So next here we're looking at, and it's all under sense of community, is your movement inventory. How many times per week do you exercise on average? What kind of exercise do you do, and how long is much is the exercise session? All right. So I'm gonna take a break here, and we're gonna watch some videos. So I always like to time videos and kind of get some perspectives from some other people in videos. So that's one thing I always like to do. It just it helps to make sense out of all of this. So I'm gonna do that right now.
What if I just went for it? This was the question I asked myself one summer for probably the 39th time. It was a Sunday, and I was about to get on a flight across the country. I just spent the weekend drinking into oblivion with my friends. The whole weekend felt like a blur. I was so hungover. And like with every other hangover, I began to ponder my life. I couldn't stop thinking about how much I didn't want this. Living for the weekends, dreading Mondays, a life full of comfort, yet devoid of any freedom. I was nearly 30 years old, already many years into my so-called career, successful by society's standards, but something just didn't feel right. You see, as a kid, I always had dreams I'd be different. But as life went on, those dreams, they faded away. And I found myself stuck behind a desk, all thanks to a series of decisions I thought were in my best interest. College, the fancy job, the big city. These decisions, did I make them for me? Or did I make them for everyone but me? And whenever I found myself alone in the airport hungover like this, these dreams would come back. It was at this moment I found myself wondering, what if I just went for it? 1 year. That's all I need. What would happen if I chased my dreams for 365 days? And that's when it all started. In that moment, I reached into my suitcase and pulled out the book I've been struggling to get through. A book called Think and Grow Rich. This book would eventually rewire my brain for success. But for now, I flip to my bookmark and read this. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. A simple quote, but I read it over and over and over. If you want to change, you must believe in that change. You must visualize that change. But what change did I want? I wanted to be free of my student loan and credit card debt. I wanted to work on things I was passionate about. I wanted to be free. But dreams, they're not enough. You must create a detailed plan of action to achieve your goal. So, what would be my plan of action? I will stop spending money on bullshit. I'll dedicate nights and weekends to building my future. I will start building a business. I wrote all this down on a tiny little note card. This was my manifesto. Exactly what I want and exactly how I'll get there. When I got home, I nailed this little note card right above my bed, and I read it over and over, every night and every evening until it was etched in my memory. What should I even work on? What am I actually passionate about? And how can I actually make money from it? These questions, they paralyzed me. They prevented me from ever actually getting started. And that's when I realized I was obsessed with control. I was obsessed with the idea of having it all figured out. And this made me scared of committing to anything. But really, I was scared of failure. But this manifesto, this little piece of paper right here, it did one thing. It forced me to get started. And getting started, even in the tiniest way, taught me something that would change everything. Failure is success. When I finally gave myself permission to fail, it unlocked the answer.
What type of life is it to hold yourself to one standard of who you were, as if you can't learn things and grow, and as if outcomes cannot be different, as if you are stuck being that person? You're not. Hi, guys. It's been too long. It's been too long. Life has been lifing. And here's the good thing, though. I didn't freak out. Usually I'd freak out. I'd be like, I'm not being consistent. I haven't posted a video. I was really just going with the flow. I've been surrendering a lot, y'all. And when I seen that things were happening and shooting a video and editing a video, it felt so hard. It just did not fit into the schedule. And I kind of just let life happen. And so during this break, my parents contracted COVID, my son contracted COVID, and then I contracted COVID almost a month ago. So that was like the beginning. Right before that, I had just come from filming my first feature on a podcast, which is coming out very soon, and I'm excited to share with you guys. But I had just gotten back, and he came down with a fever, and then come to find out my parents had it, then the whole family got it. So that took a week out of us, right? And then after that, my husband was traveling. And then when he got back, we went to Costa Rica, which is amazing because it was baby boy's first international trip. So it was good things and like out of control things happening at the same time. Video because their services have been extremely helpful for me, and I think some of you will benefit from it too. So CareHub is a subscription service. You fill out a quiz and it tells you what vitamins, supplements, or powders that you should take depending on what your health goals are. Now that's super helpful for me because if I have too many options, I get confused and I'd rather not take anything. And that's what I've been doing for like the last year. I was on a few vitamins, but then I felt like I was taking too many. Being able to fill out the things that I'm working on in myself, the things that I'm working on in my body. What are my skincare goals? What are my hair goals? What things am I feeling? Am I feeling sluggish and tired? Am I working on energy? You take a quiz that has you answer all of those questions, and at the end of it, it gives you a personalized regimen of the supplements and vitamins that you should take. So I'm most not feeling connected to the thing and being addicted to the accolades and the applause and the views and the money, and I was unfulfilled. And I've experienced the opposite of doing what I love and not receiving the accolades, but I was way more fulfilled over here. And that's because I made a conscious decision to be connected to what I was doing, right? I say all that to say I made this commitment that I would keep going as long as my heart still desired to be talking about what I'm talking about, as long as God kept pushing these messages through me feeling that emotional connection to it and needing to share it. Until I had no more to share, I was going to keep going, right? And so I would have still been sitting here doing these videos and it would have been hard, but I've done. They're easily overpowered and taken advantage of, and people can see it as weakness. And so before I knew the power of my sensitivity and before I was confident in it, it was taken advantage of. It was made fun of, you know? Being a quiet person in a room of loud people, you can feel unheard and talked over. And so it felt negative to me as a young girl. And so for most of my childhood and a lot of my 20s, I just didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be sensitive. I didn't want people to know that. And although looking back now, it was still very apparent, it was still very on my sleeve, you could still see it I was not embracing it. Talk to those people. Find those people. And if you can't find them, keep looking. Keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. I keep telling y'all, Facebook groups, say 9 out of 10 times, 9.9 out of 10 times, when you have a moment to truly sit with yourself and think about what a good life would feel like, it is not sitting on the couch every single day doing nothing. We all desire to do something that brings us joy. We just don't believe that we can do that thing and also make a living or even make it a hobby. We don't believe that we deserve to do things that just simply bring us joy and pleasure. And I hope that you can give yourself permission to at least try and build a life that feels good for you. And you'll be surprised when you start taking those steps. You'll be shocked at the stuff that you tell yourself in your mind you can't do, you're not supposed to do. And then you realize that that is all the conditioning and the things that other people told you, and that is their reality, not yours. You can't listen to people that are not doing it for themselves. Go. That is a sign, that is God, that is the universe, whatever you call it. It is pulling you, and it is trying to give you a sign and trying to give you a hand, and you just got to take it. Sometimes you're going to get a pull, and you may feel like, this feels a little different for me. Like me going to speak on a panel 5 years ago. It was like, not my thing. I'm starting to learn to take those signs and take those hints to pay attention to after I ask for something. What are the things that pop up that may seem out of my comfort zone?
We're there for one another. No one is by themselves. A part of your healing, is acknowledging it, being honest, and I feel like you know that you're healed when you're able to testify, when you're able to tell your story. For instance, me, right? Me, I've been able to share something that I wish I had when I was going through this situation. I was able to create something that I wish I had when I was going through, because I'm healed and I'm able to see, okay, this is where you went wrong, girl. Okay, this is where you could have been a little more honest, or you shouldn't have did that, or you should have been a little more discerning. Where was your wisdom when you decided to do this, right? And so, and furthermore, what influenced you? How did you get here? And with that reflection that I did for myself, I realized that multiple things that caused me to be in that type of lifestyle. And so I said, time is out. It got me. I don't want it to get no one else in my bloodline. So I had to break it. So spiritual.
What are you wanting to do in 2025 that you didn't do in 2024? The new year brings about new things, but your new year can start whenever you want it to start. It doesn't have to start January 1st. It can start whenever you want it to do. What are you wanting to do in 2025 that you didn't do in 2024? The new year brings about new things, but your new year can start whenever you want it to start. It doesn't have to start January 1st. It can start whenever you want it to do. And how do I reset my life? I mean, what do I have to do to just have a fresh start? It's a great question. And in this video, I want to share 5 steps that you can take that'll help you move towards resetting your life. Resetting your life. Acknowledge and release. But if you're just now starting out, this is your first time approaching minimalism and working to live a more intentional life, I want to take a quick moment to first explain what these first 2 steps mean before I kind of dive deeper into what the other 3 are. Number 1 is acknowledge. Now, the first thing you need to do before anything else is take a step back and look at your life. Look at your routines, your habits, how you live your life, the things that you enjoy doing, and really figure out, what do I have in my life? What can I acknowledge in my life as an issue, as something that I need to let go of, as something that I need to change, as something that I'm currently unhappy with? You have to figure out what that is. You have to acknowledge what that thing is before you can make any adjustments or changes or anything to fix it or correct course to where you want to actually head in life. What is it in your life that you are currently unhappy with? What is it in your life that is blocking you, that is slowing you down, that is just something that you have to let go of? What is that thing? Number 2 is release. Now, this is something that we've all are already currently doing, and that is decluttering the space around us, letting go of those things that we're unhappy with, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, friendships, relationships, whatever that thing is that you've acknowledged in step 1 as being an issue, as being a block in your life, as being something that you just, why am I holding on to this? Step 2 is to let it go, to release it, to declutter your space, to declutter mentally, declutter emotionally, to just let it go. Free yourself of whatever that is that you've acknowledged in step 1. Now, before I dive into what number 3, 4, and 5 is, I first have to say that steps 1 and 2 are never really done. As we're growing through this journey and growing to live in a more intentional life for ourselves, a life that we're happy with, we're always going to acknowledge things that we need to change and then release those things. And with that said, the third thing on my list is gratitude, showing thankfulness for the things that you allowed to keep into your life, the things that you still have in your life that are of value to you. You have to show gratefulness for those, thankfulness for those. And there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do it written. So for me, it's through my poetry, through my creative writing. And then you can do it verbally, out loud, just professing the thankfulness that you have towards the people in your life, towards the things in your life. You know, the little things, sometimes we forget to be thankful for the little things, and showing gratitude for even the smallest of things in your life can speak volumes to where you're headed on your journey. So I'm always encouraging you to just show gratitude in step number 3. Number 4 is to declare. Now, once you've acknowledged the issues or things that you need to change in your life and you've released those things, and like I said, you're never really done with steps 1 and 2, then you show gratitude. You show thankfulness for the things that are still in your life. And I am currently in that phase of my life. I have a gratitude journal and things like that. But now it's time to declare. to profess the things that you want to bring into your life, the things that you want to see happen in your life, the joys that you want to see come alive, and the happiness that you want to see for yourself, the people around you. Declare what that is for you. Profess what it is for you. If it's a new job, profess that you're going to have that new job in your life. If it's to be healthy, happy, whatever it is in your relationship, your marriage, profess those things. Declare those things to be true in your life. Now, before I share the fifth thing on my list, of course, you already know, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to my channel. I talk about minimalism and intentional living, but also share my creativity and ways to build on your passions here as well. So if you enjoy either of those things or both, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell so you're notified every time I drop a video. So after you've acknowledged, released, expressed gratitude, and declared the things that you want to happen in your life, what do you do next? Number 5 is to take action. Have you ever heard of the saying, faith without work is dead? It's the exact same thing. If you're proclaiming and declaring these things that you want to happen in your life after you've decluttered and let go of everything that is roadblocking you, everything that is in your way that you're unhappy with, after you've professed what you want to happen, if you're not actively working for those things to happen, they're not going to happen. Just like the saying says, faith without work is dead. You have to take action on the things that you want to happen in your life. You've already taken action towards decluttering and clarifying your life, decluttering mentally and emotionally, letting those things go. You're taking action there, but what actions are you taking now towards the goals that you have for yourself? If it's to be healthy, to be in shape, to move up the corporate ladder, if that's your dream, or whatever it is for you, I don't know, whatever it is for you,
You'll know it then.
Did you make the right decision leaving rap?
I did. Everything now that we see playing out was all the things I escaped. The car, the Shine, the Loon, Puff Daddy, the Craig Mack,
Biggie Smalls.
the Biggie Smalls. So even though I made those decisions and it cost me money, that's why I got with Killer and they gave me the money back. I didn't lose no money. It's destiny.
That boy good.
That boy good.
That boy good.
That boy good. That boy good.
Nigga said, and that's why he makes the big bucks.
That's why he makes the big bucks. That was crazy. I couldn't have planned that. You asked me. See, that's why it's destiny. You asked me the right question. We at the right place. This is how it's meant to go, man.
That's what I do, baby.
Thank you, Killer.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you, Killer.
Right, thank you.
On
man.
national TV. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey friends, it's your girl Dr. Nina, and I'm wondering, are you finding it easier to pick up bad habits these days just to get by? Or do you know you can make some different choices right now in order to lead to a healthier lifestyle? And don't worry, you're not alone. I've been there too. Today I'm going to share those 7 bad habits I stopped to live a healthier lifestyle, how I fixed those things. From life goals, self-care, and nutrition, these could all lead to a better you. And I also want to hear from you in the comments. What are some of the things you're giving up nowadays in order to live a healthier life? Come on, let's hold each other accountable. And I want to thank Seed for sponsoring today's video. Let's go. I had to stop overspending into debt and not thinking about my next moves. This one at one point did hit me hard, I won't lie. When I first got out of school and I had the means to do things, it was easy for things to start taking over my money flow. People could say that money troubles don't mean a thing, but baby, it causes a lot of things like high blood pressure, depression, insomnia, headaches, digestion troubles, aches and pains, ulcers, excessive smoking and drinking, and gaining and even losing weight. Getting out of debt was a lot like losing weight for me. It takes time, can be hard on your ego, and it's easy to go back to real bad habits. I used to think that being able to save money or keep money had a lot to do with how much you had. But what I learned is that when you're a bad steward, you will squander away anything. If you're bad with $5, you're going to be bad with $500, and so on and so forth. Now, don't be shy. Click like if you used to think the same way. So if you don't learn how to govern the little that you have, you're not going to do good with a lot. I had to quickly find ways to curb my spending and find the simple joys in life so I could sleep better at night and have better relationships. So where did I start? I first learned about money management. I learned basic rules of personal finance, and I was able to buy my first home on my own at 28 years old, and it was the house that I wanted. I saved for it, and I did the things necessary in order to learn about personal finance. You also have to create a budget, and my mother helped me with this. Answer the question, how much money is coming in each month? It could be depressing, but it's important to know. How much is spent on essentials and how much frivolously? I kept track to know what I needed to cut back on. And I paid at least the monthly minimum and usually the maximum on all my bills. First, I would take care of high interest bills and move on to the next worst one. And I automated those good monthly habits. I used my online banking system in order to transfer money automatically into savings, and also I automate any payments that usually stay the same every month. And I've changed my money priorities. I don't shop as just a way to distract myself or to entertain myself. And with this, you just start to identify new things that you can spend your money on that really make sense for you. And I try to do things that are a good investment for the future. I stopped overindulging and overeating and learned to take my health seriously. Before I got serious about my health and turned my life around, I not only was tearing the club up, but I was also tearing up some McDonald's, some Popeyes, and some Wendy's chicken nuggets. This led to a bigger waistline and other health problems like borderline heart disease and diabetes. I know fast food was fast and it tasted good, but it was making me sick. Eating healthy foods and researching supplements takes a lot more time and often money, but it's absolutely worth it. Losing excess weight and ridding yourself of the possibility of a lot of illnesses and saving extra money by preparing meals at home, it's all worth it. So how did I start to make the change? I weaned myself off slowly. Step away from the chicken nuggets. I cut back a little bit per week, and every time I went out to eat, I ate a little less and spent a little less. I switched to the healthier menu options. I replaced soda with water, burgers with grilled chicken and veggies, and fries, I went with salads instead. I ended all the impulse buying of fast food, and even though I still get it every now and again, it's not all the time. And I switched to grocery stores. What I learned is some of them have ready-made meals that are a lot more healthy than getting in a drive-thru. And I made some time to prep my own foods. I got a little bit more confident in the kitchen. I was able to add veggies and fruits and also come up with new things that I liked and didn't even know I liked. And this also led to better choices when it came to supplementing my body.
All right, we're back here. We're back, and we were going over talking about the lifestyle snapshot. Where we talked about your sleep, we talked about media use, and we talked about sense of community. There was another one that I wanted to add in here. It was talking about the daily diet. Do you minimize eating processed foods? Do you crave processed foods or sweets, cookies, potato chips, cake, or regular daily basis? Do you engage in emotional eating, that is, eating when you're bored, stressed, or tired? Some people say they don't eat after 7. Does your diet include vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and whole grains? Are you on any special diets? Stretch, stretch a little bit, but let's see here. So now, basically, some of these things that you've done, you know, some of these things that you've done is you basically, you basically take an important step and basically taking a step in trying to get your stress together by bringing your regular routines and habits into a sharper focus with a lifestyle snapshot. So all of those things we listed is a snapshot of the lifestyle. So that's going to help you to kind of figure out where you're at, and again with dealing with the stress levels and all that stuff. So because unhealthy stress is incrementally compounded or reduced through such habits, it's helpful to have this snapshot of what you do most days. Because most of us, I mean, those things I just named, most of you probably can't even ramble this stuff off the top of your head. Some of the things that I was just talking about. I mean, obviously you know what they are, but if you really sit down and think about it, you think, oh, I'm getting, 6 hours, 7 hours of sleep. But then are you really getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep if it's interrupted, if you're going to bed late or you have to get up earlier or something like that? So when you start documenting stuff, writing it down, you can turn it into facts. So when it comes to the difference between healthy and unhealthy stress, an author, podcaster, was it Gretchen Rubin said, when you do every, what does it say? When you do, oh no, what they're saying is what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. So the things that you do every so often or not so often don't matter as much as the things that you do every day. And that's why we went over that snapshot, because that snapshot, those things, your sleep, your eat, your social media, your computer time, your phone time, that's stuff that you do every single day. And so that's stuff that you need to monitor. Unhealthy stress is caused by many overlapping factors, not just one thing, but when you hear your canary sing and you feel this fact, your habits can become a tangled mess. So, in a nutshell, taking a lifestyle snapshot, taking a lifestyle snapshot and looking at it carefully starts to shift your brain out of survival mode and into thriving mode. So, which is led by a prefrontal, should say prefrontal cortex. So basically, one of the first resets we talk about is get clear of what matters most to you. So the 5 resets, get clear what matters most to you. And so once you figure those things out, you start stepping into your growth mindset. You can start moving through the 3 zones of fear, learning. You can start moving through the 3 zones of fear, learning, and growth. Start uncovering your goals and what you want to really accomplish. And then just basically just trying to come up with the end game. Come up with an end game. So this is really what this is all about. You're just trying to come up with an end game, trying to come up with ways to stay, for the most part, stress free. I mean, that's not always the easiest thing to do, but you know, my good people out there, my beautiful people, I'm just trying to throw information at you, trying to have these discussions, these talks, and just try to help people in any way I can. So that's one of the things is embedded in me. I've been since youth. I mean, I always kind of found myself in a leadership role, even when I was a kid, playing sports, moving into management, doing different things. So just just a little bit about myself, background. That's all. I'm just breaking it down. How I feel. I always feel the need. And I kind of watched my mom. She was always a motivational speaker and motivational for youth and adults and stuff like that. So through books and reading and meditation and stuff like that. So that's where I get a lot of those skills from. So if I can pass it along and try to, not necessarily everything I'm giving you, but when I show these videos, if I can get other people to give you information, just kind of make you that end game, like I said, create lifestyle, put you in a better mindset, keep protecting your peace, we were talking about before, relieving stress, minimizing your stress, and so forth. So if this video has been helpful to you, again, please, for the minute amount of people I have subscribing, if you run across this video on YouTube, please subscribe. I'll be back with more content, and hit the like button, and we're gonna keep this moving. We're gonna keep this going here. So again, this is another one. Everybody keep good out there, be safe, eating right, healthy, all that good stuff, and hope all is well with you. To do this again, peace. Let's get it.